And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This Vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because we need to talk about some stuff sometimes. And, well, truth be told, it's just a matter that I'm vain and I like to hear myself talk about a lot of things. Why I use noise-canceling headphones and I can't hear myself, I do not know then. Part of this is to follow through the... See, you think I'm joking about that. I actually do have noise-canceling headphones. I don't hear anything back through from the microphone because the way the Hangouts work, and I can only just barely hear myself because I got the stupid things turned on. Leave me alone. Where did I leave off? Part of this, sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. Close enough. I'm picking up where the hell I got it. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble all over the place. You can find me pretty much anywhere under that name. It's Shujin. We have a little bit of a truncated group at the moment. I'll kind of explain what's going on in a second. From the Midwest of the U.S., good evening, Brigid.
Good evening.
Did you guys get pelted with that snow system that's been running through, by the way?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was near whiteout conditions earlier because we had like 45-mile-an-hour winds with the snow.
Shit.
It's cold. It's really cold.
Okay, but you didn't have any buildings buckling under snow, I hope.
Oh, no.
Good. Yeah, we a couple of years ago we had that over here in the Buffalo market, but that's a whole other thing for later. And from just over the water over into Paris, France. Good morning, Joseph.
Good morning. It's just a short swim away.
Well, I mean, this time of the season when it's really cold, you probably want to do that swim really fast, though. Just saying. I mean, the longer you're in the water, it's the worse it gets. I mean,
maybe if you run fast enough, you can just like skip across the top.
I was thinking about the same damn thing. The Jesus lizard. Yes.
Or if it froze, if it got really, really cold, you could walk.
You could. Niagara Falls. Once upon a time, the whole river froze, and when it would freeze into, oh God, when the hell was it? It was the early 1900s, late 1800s.
1903, I think, was the last time it froze.
Okay, I'm trying to remember when it was, but there were reports where when it would freeze over in the middle of the river, moonshiners would set up stands on the international border because it was technically a no man's land and nobody knew who had jurisdiction to tell them, no, you're not allowed to serve alcohol because dry country and all. And you get away with that. Yeah, believe it or not, once upon a time, America was a dry country.
A dry country on a waterfall. That's a thought.
Well, what are you going to do? For what it's worth, by the way, for those of you that have never seen it, if you get the opportunity, see if you can find pictures of the Niagara Falls Gorge, actually at the falls itself, in the middle of winter. Because of all the water falling and the mist that comes up off of that, in the winter, when it's below freezing, it is literally snowing in that gorge the entire time that it's cold enough for it to freeze the spray that's coming up. And it is amazing to look at. It's absolutely gorgeous. Especially when it's like super bright sunny in the middle of the day, no clouds, and the sun is shining through all these little ice crystals. It's like having a little rainbow all over in front of you. It's wonderful. It's cold as hell usually because there's so much wind, but oh, it's so much fun to see that. But anyway, so real quickly, let me give you real fast on this one. UnrenownedTech has already let me know that he's not going to be joining us tonight. Heretic Woman probably won't be joining us. She's traveling a little bit and has already said, yeah, traveling conditions aren't that great, so probably not going to make it. I've already told her, just be safe. If you make it and you want to make it, she's got the invitation, but be that as it may. Joey might be hibernating because, cold. Dalan, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that well, he didn't make the show that we do last night because of cold and throat and hacky coffee and bleh. So he's probably sleeping it off again, which no worries. I totally understand that. So we're what you got right now, and we'll see how that plays out. So, of course, as always, thank you guys for being with us. If you are watching live, of course, please take advantage of the live chat feature. I'll be more than happy to check in with you guys. I know for well that Stephanie checked in early. Fearless is there. Hi, hun. And Trippin, hello. And Trippin was saying North Carolina has actually gone up. Balmy 60 Fahrenheit, rating pretty good. Tomorrow's temperatures falling somewhere between 30-ish and mid-20s Fahrenheit, which means going from about 17? No. What the hell is it? I forget exactly what it is, Celsius, but comfortable Celsius to 0 and -5-ish Celsius, I think. I'm trying to do the conversion in my head real quick. I'm not that good at it, but it be as it may. So there's a lot of stuff that's been in the news that we were kind of chatting about before we even got started that we'll probably end up talking about in the very near future show, because I used to be a high schooler once upon a time ago, and I will go ahead and let you know I was never that much of a douche nozzle. So for those of you that know the news story that I'm referring to, if you're as disgusted as I am, cool, great. We will probably end up discussing that story because we kind of got to talk a little bit about that, and there's pieces about that yeah. So kind of show my hand a little bit ahead of time because, well, it's going to be the way that it is. And Stephanie, I live in the rain, shadow of the peaks, which most of you would dismiss as hillocks. So we're missing the worst of the weather this year. Okay, then. You guys take care of that and feel a 41 rain in the Rockies. Of any place that I would have been expecting it to be cold and frigid and freezing, yeah, I would have expected it up in the Rockies. It would be, but the hell do I know? Anyway. And don't mind me, I'm just kind of stretching out my back because it was getting a little bit caught on me. So let me get take 4. Let me get rolling over here, and we'll get everything started for us all because we got stuff to talk about. So with 5 minutes on the clock, excuse me, your 5-minute freestyle starts right now. Congratulations. I'm doing something that I normally don't do, and to the best of my knowledge, I don't think I've ever done before. I'm sending out a very personal message to a buddy of mine, an artist who goes by the name Dutch, partly because I'm pretty sure that's his real name, but be that as it may. Dutch had put up a post on Twitter last night, which I was so gratified to see, and it literally took my breath away. I do not say that it's hyperbole or anything. I actually completely forgot to breathe for a few moments when I saw it. I actually put hand over my mouth in the whole thing because I was so surprised. Dutch has been drawing for quite some time, and he's got a wicked sense of humor. I've known him for a number of years. I've had the chance of seeing him at Anthrocon many times. He's a nice guy. And he's actually been taking online courses to learn more so that he can do better drawing, better animation for the future. And he got his diploma or his certificate of completing the classes that he was taking. That in and of itself is not that big a deal. The big deal of it all was that he was presented the certificate by his, let's call it professor, his instructor, his teacher in this. And if you're going to go ahead and take a master's class of sorts, I don't think that you could do very much better than this one. He was presented the certificate by one of his idols and a name that a lot of people would recognize, Don Bluth. And for whatever reason, if somebody doesn't recognize the name Don Bluth, there are a lot of pieces that you're just not remembering. In particular, you might remember a couple of arcade games once upon a time ago. Dragon's Lair, Space Ace. It was his animation stuff. He did a section of the movie Xanadu, the animated fish swimming thing in the middle of one of the songs, Secret of Nim. He worked at Disney for a little while, and he went off and did his own thing because he just wanted to do his own thing. He worked on a lot of stuff. Anastasia was another one that you might remember from back in the day. But I wanted to send a very special message to Dutch. Not just congratulations, but damn, my friend, you did good for yourself. Not only did you get the opportunity to say, you know what, I want to learn more. I've been doing pretty close to his style anyway, but I want to learn more. And he talked with me a couple of times about it, that he was so happy that he was getting the chance to learn directly from the guy whose style he draws in almost. I'm not saying he's a rip-off artist, just that style works for him. The fact that you wanted to keep going in learning, I'm proud for that. Seriously, I really am. The fact that you got the chance to learn from Mr. Bluth. Yes, I will call him Mr. Wow, dude. Not many of us are able to do that. I mean, whether for Don or any of the other big name animators, and admittedly, that list of big name animators isn't that big a list or not that well known. I mean, can you imagine if it was somebody who was working with stop motion animation, who was learning from Harryhausen, somebody that was learning how to do directorial stuff from Kubrick? You got the chance to learn from somebody who made a mark, somebody whose legacy will live on well past his years. Man, I envy you. And I'm proud that you're a friend of mine. Take that and do good with it, man. Very happy for you. Very happy for you. This is episode 245 on the docket, Your Honor. Change with the times. All right, last week we talked with Dr. Nuka, and we, had a lot of different pieces that we ended up talking through. But one of the pieces that stuck with me was learning that, as much as we talk about trying to understand, the why of a question, was a little bit of introspection of kind of understanding also the why of how we answer a question. And I have not been really good about doing that. And I wanted to kind of talk through a little bit with folks as far as to, dealing with that from the opposite side of what do we do? How do we deal with learning that, we've got to adjust how we think about a problem or a question or even how we think or troubleshoot through something. So this is going to be a little bit on the weird side. I just sincerely hope that it's a lot of fun for folks. Without Heretic Woman here, of course, I can't have her give you an update on Rafe Badawi. Unfortunately, as usual, I have no new news. Wasn't able to find anything off the top of my head, so unfortunately, same old. As of the recording of tonight's show, this now makes it 6 years, 7 months, 6 days since he was unjustly incarcerated for thought crime. Our hopes and thoughts are still with you and your family, man. We're still hoping, we're still waiting. So, like I said, last week it was a lot of fun. I like talking with Courtney. He's a nice guy, and I could and probably technically should call him Dr. Plant, but yeah, I mean, he and I've known each other long enough, I guess, and I call him Courtney. What are you gonna do? But trying to realize that I sometimes forget to deal with some people, especially when there are arguments going on, especially in the current climate on social media, that I've started to rethink how I discuss and deal with problems. That's not even the right word for it. Dealing with discussions online. Could call it arguments, be that as it may. But I realized that I needed to rethink the way that I've been doing it, so that I'm less antagonistic. And that was a little tough for me, because that's not usually the person that I think that I am, and not exactly the person that I want to be, especially not all the time. Now, how we deal with this is very, very different for every individual, and that's why I thought this was kind of funny, because Brigid can tell you there are certain people that we know in the skeptical community, in the atheist community, who are how can I best put this? What was the term, bulldog?
I'm not really sure, but I would call them, dogmatic. They exchange one form of dogma for another, and they're very combative and very militant.
Now, see, now I'm getting a little bit worried, because I'm gonna throw a couple of names at you.
Okay.
Susie and Miss Ashley.
Well, I wouldn't call them militant, but they're
we could sometimes.
But they definitely speak their mind and make no bones about it.
Firebrand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's I want to make sure that everybody understands there is a place for the firebrand personalities to go out there and just hit people. I'm going to use the term dope slap people who richly deserve it and need it very viciously sometimes.
And that's what punk was all about, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, they went out there and they basically said, look, we want to do it this way, and screw your rules, and screw you.
Huh.
I mean, you don't have to go any much further than oh God. Okay. I absolutely detest this song and this guy, and especially this guy singing this song, but you get the point across real quickly. Sid Vicious singing My Way.
That is practically my anthem.
That specific version of that specific song?
Yeah.
The thing about it is, and I'm going to have to give a little tag onto it. I can't stand the way that he did it. I can't stand the way that he performed it, and the way that he was just. I could imitate it, but truth be told, I don't want to wake up the little one because it's late. But the tag about it, though, is that's kind of the way that punk is supposed to come across, right?
It's a parody. I mean, yeah. But like, when you go, when he changes the words, like today I killed a cat, it's not about literally killing a cat. It's about, making people face up to what they think about it. It's like making people confront themselves.
Yeah, but as I understood
What
it,
do you think about that idea? What you going to do about it? You know,
yeah.
kind of thing.
But the biggest problem that I've got is, I mean, Sid Vicious was still, um, I guess the best way of putting it is, in his off time, he was an asshole.
Oh God, yeah.
And for me, that's the piece that sucks the most. I mean, it's one thing to go out there and put out a performance, and the flash and the pan, the pyrotechnics, okay, yeah, but you get off the stage, you're just a normal average to everyday guy.
It's more than that. I mean, have you seen the Great Rock and Roll Swindle?
No, I don't think that I know of this.
Okay, they did a French version of Anarchy in the UK, and he was in Paris, and he was like going around town, going to a bakery and all that, and it was just the tone of the whole thing is him being an asshole, but in a way he was making fun of fanboyism because like when he goes into the bakery, like this young girl working there would give him like free stuff, like he's being an asshole, and it's working.
Mhm.
And that was the punchline. I can be this way, and it's still working for me because of you.
Jeez, kind of reminds you of somebody, doesn't it, Bridge?
Mm.
Yeah, we're not gonna name names right now, but
Well, there was another song by the Toy Dolls, which is a Kazi punk group,
that
and
one
it was
sounds
called
familiar.
Nelly the Elephant.
I don't know that one.
Yeah.
Do Google for Toy Dolls Nelly the Elephant.
Seriously, in the middle of the show, you're gonna make me do work? Really?
Well,
What's wrong with you? You know better
well,
than that.
you didn't want to name names, but if
Yeah,
you listen to the
well,
song, the name is in there.
see, I was see the way that you were talking about that attitude is just DJ. It's
Okay.
that's people get it now. DJ. Drop the thing in the chat for us so that I can see about linking that in later.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to go look. Pardon me while I go pour boiling water in my. Oh God, Felix, why? What? Okay, because Trippin is making reference. Like Roseanne Barr singing the national anthem. Uh yeah. See, there's a difference between that event, which I am not going to link to, and Sid Vicious doing his version. Roseanne was trying to be an edgelord before there was the term edgelord, and Sid Vicious, well, Sid was just being an asshole, but a professional asshole. I mean, because let's face it, the punk scene was kind of part and parcel of it.
Sid Vicious knew he was being an asshole. I'm not
Yeah,
sure that Roseanne Barr, Dunning-Kruger.
I yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and her singing it and what she stands for, she doesn't understand, even what the national anthem means, the words to the song.
Worst part about it is, you could do a horrible. There's an expression. You have to be a really good violin player to play the violin that badly. And that was attributed to somebody describing Jack Benny playing his violin. And he was an accomplished violin player. But professionally on his shows for comedy, oh, fingers on a blackboard kind of sound. For somebody who knows how to play one. But oh my God, that was a level of just no. But there's a difference with the punk bands where I can listen to them and go, I don't like the way that you're doing it, but you're doing it right at least. I mean,
Point taken.
yeah. Anyway, so I don't even know where we're going at that point. Excuse me.
We're kind of meandering.
A little bit.
Okay, that's what we do.
Sorry. Damn it. I need to. One of these days I'll figure it out. Maybe there's a cough button on my mixer board. I should look that up one of these. Whatever. Anyway. Oh, God. Stephanie's saying Nellie the Elephant was originally a child's song. That doesn't surprise me. And Trippin'. Roseanne singing the national anthem for Trump would be perfect.
Ugh. Yeah.
Nobody needs that again. Nobody needs that again. Once was enough, thank you very much. Be that as it may. Dealing with trying to re-understand how we deal with questions, and I think I can kind of work this through a little bit. Like I was just saying, with the punk scene, you did music your own way, and if it was quote unquote wrong because it didn't follow the conventions of everybody else's version of music, who cares? It's ours. It's our vision. Screw you. We're gonna do it our way. I can't believe it just used that line again. I'm never gonna get that out of my head now. And for the record, no, I am not going to play that song on any of my DJ sets in the near future. So, no.
But Nelly the Elephant's a fun song.
You know, I have to take your word on that because I have no idea. I don't recognize it by name.
It's a bunch. Their story's really funny because they were a bunch of. They were in college. The group. Three of the members of the group were in college together, and they were studying, I think, for accounting or something like that. And they just said, "Fuck it all," and they started a punk band. And it's really hilarious. It's like a mix of punk and Monty Python. But punk is basically their message is we are what we are because of you. This is, we don't like what you're doing, so we're going to do our thing.
Basically, that's you do realize that that's the angry version of jazz, really. I mean, jazz players they'll go ahead and they'll break every rule that you ever learned in how to play music, and
it works.
It works. I mean, freaking.
Well, are they really thinking of existing rules? I think that's without those rules. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, there are because with music there are certain rules that you have to follow because music is a language. There are certain conventions you have to follow.
There's a discussion there because, you know, like classical music, well, unless you get into extremes like Bartok and, you know, Wagner, it's almost a conformism. You know, this is the system, and within the system, it sounds like this. But jazz came along, and it was kind of like thumbing your nose at the system. Well, here's what we're doing, and it still sounds great. So, fuck your rules.
Yep. Whereas with jazz, it was much more, yeah, man, we're just going to go ahead and have ourselves some fun because, you know, booze and marijuana sometimes. And then Camel Unfiltered and Mad Dog 50/50 comes along and, well, here's punk and screw y'all. I mean, you want to have a good idea as to how crazed jazz can sound? Yeah, Thelonious Monk is probably a really good choice because he put sounds together that in musical theory, you're not supposed to do that.
Oh, but he did Coltrane too.
Yes.
Coltrane sometimes would, when he got into his solos, his probably drug-fueled solos.
You think?
Yeah. There has to be coke in there somewhere.
But, yeah. Yeah. Now, The Trippin is saying, I think we're distracting Shujin. The funny part of it is I can actually work with this in just a second. And Felix is saying, it's one thing to remake the rules artfully. It's another to butcher art. But here's the thing. I don't know that you can really say that it's butchered. Art is... art as it was described to me, and I've explained this one before.
There's so many rabbit holes here.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What was explained to me in high school from my orchestra and band instructor, the purpose of art is to evoke an emotional response from the person consuming it. So if you have whatever form of art, whether it be literature or a painting, a photograph, music, if it evokes something in whoever it is that's, for lack of a better term, consuming it, then it's good art. To that end, I have such different feelings from listening to Beethoven's Ninth and Fifth Symphonies, which I happen to love. I have an incredibly different feeling in trying to listen to, very, very carefully, trying to listen to Pink Floyd's music. Pink Floyd's music unnerves me. And for that reason, I choose not to play that music in my DJ sets. That doesn't mean that it's bad music.
Have you ever tried to dance to it?
No.
The best I could do is like vague arm waving.
Yeah, I think the closest arm waving that I could do would be, no, get it out, get it out. But now that doesn't mean that.
Do you realize we're talking about conformism here?
Not in this particular moment for me.
Okay. Do you consider Pink Floyd to be art?
I do, but an appreciation for art is very subjective.
Sure. Because normally art, it's an alternative to the status quo, in most cases anyways, or anything I would consider. Maybe that's my own definition of art, but I don't know. But if somebody's work, if somebody's music caters to the status quo, I would tend to consider that pop or something like that, but never art. And like we're talking about jazz, we're talking about Pink Floyd, and these are these are quote unquote working alternatives to the status quo. And you could also take that across to like even painting, pointillism and all that. Which was almost a psychological study, how the human brain actually looks at things, how it sees things. But anyways.
That's fair enough. I guess part of the reason why I was kind of going down this particular avenue is that there are certain conventions that you need to follow in order for there to be an understanding. For instance, we know full well that in English, there's a certain specific structure that a sentence has to follow in order for it to be properly understood. But then you take the example of listening to Yoda from the Star Wars universe. It's English, but it's difficult to piece it together because it's not quite following the right convention, but it's still understood. And that's where, to me, where jazz kind of takes the original rules and futzes with them in a much more lighthearted fashion, whereas punk takes those conventions and seems to try to make it much more.
Punk is consciously against the rules. I think jazz and like pointillism, and I think even Mozart in his time was punk for the time period he was in. No, that I just crossed my own example. No, but there's doing things against the rules, being conscious of the rules, and there's doing things without rules.
There's that. But
And you found your cough button.
well, I've got the one on the screen. It's just a matter of that sometimes I don't have enough time to click in the right way. And the problem that I've got is, for those of you that don't have any idea how this stuff works, on the top of the screen that I see for all of us, I have a couple of buttons that I can use, one of which turns off my camera, one of which turns off my microphone, one of which also hangs up the call. And they're all relatively close together, so I'm very self-conscious if I'm going to go ahead and hit one of those buttons over there. Otherwise, I will disconnect myself from the call, and then bad things happen.
So if we hear you coughing and then we get hung up on, we'll know what happened.
Yeah, we're gonna try really hard to not have that happen. So the reason for going down this entire bunny trail, by the way, is that, like I was saying, last week it really was brought to me, and that sometimes I don't think about all of the rules of what's going on around me when I've been discussing problems or discussing points with people. And one of the biggest things that I have been not paying attention to, that I'm really embarrassed about, and I feel seriously, I feel horrible about, is that sometimes I forget, oftentimes I've forgotten, the person that I'm dealing with, that I'm arguing over a point with, has whatever their reason is for their position, and I have not taken that into account.
Well,
the why of why they feel that a certain position is important. And I feel horrible about that, because I pride myself on trying to remind myself I'm not the only brain out there. There are other people, and they've got feelings and emotions and the whole thing. And why the hell aren't you paying attention to that too, dumbass?
if we don't check ourselves, we tend to consider by default that others think exactly the same way we do.
Yeah, there's that. And
and that's a fault I'm constantly making, even though I'm aware of it.
Yeah. What finally got it for me last week, though, was when it was dawning on me that just bringing facts to an argument is not good enough when you're dealing with people for whom the argument is not necessarily, where their position on an argument is not necessarily factually based.
What's it based on then?
That's now, see, hold it right there. That's the question that I've been forgetting to ask myself.
And if you're talking about an argument between a critical thinker and a non-critical thinker, you're pretty well always going to have that problem, because no matter how you present it, because on your side of the argument, you're trying to be rational. You're playing change my mind through with rationality as a tool, as reality as a tool. Whereas a non-critical thinker, they're simply following in their programming, an exercise in conformism. Is what he's saying, does what he say match my programming or not? And for somebody who can't think critically, or won't think critically, or dare not think critically, anything not matching the programming is quote unquote bad, and everything matching the programming is good.
Yeah. And part of that, to go with the matchup with the programming part, is also the emotional support part. Does what I say make me feel good about something, or more comfortable about something, or
Does that enter your
larger?
reasoning?
No. I'm using I'm describing how the non-critical thinker, that the person that we would be
Oh, yeah,
arguing
yeah,
with.
confirmation. Because when it comes down, when everything's pattern matching,
Yeah.
same is good. So another person saying same is the same time as you're trying to make an argument for same. It's exponential almost.
Yeah. So the thing that I've been trying to think through about this, after talking over with Courtney last week, is I've been intentionally trying to hold myself back from making any kind of getting into any discussions on Facebook, so that I can think a little bit more about this. I've tried to be very good about this. There are a couple of times I kind of got into a little bit, but I also tried to be very aware of it. And what I've been thinking in my head is, if going into an argument, especially the arguments that have been hot on the presses recently, if going into these with the facts is not the way to get through to somebody, if their modus operandi is emotion and feeling and wanting to be comfortable, then I need to figure out, how do I get them to tell me what that nugget is, what that comfort piece is, what that want is, so that I can then say, okay, that's what you want, to make you feel comfortable, to feel safe, to feel wanted, to feel big, whatever it is. And
That's gonna
then
go.
go ahead.
That's gonna go whoosh. I think for them. If you
It,
try to analyze their character,
no. I don't think so, and
uh,
I'll tell you why. Because one of the things that I've learned from doing the DJ thing online in Second Life is that there is a certain level of vanity in all of us. And being that I've got a microphone and a venue to use it, part of my vanity is being able to talk to people and try to learn from and to teach to people back and forth. And that is a piece of vanity for myself. And I freely admit that, because otherwise, why the hell would I look at myself 2 hours a night when I could otherwise be, you know, in bed, watching porn on my netbook. We're not talking about me on this point. But what I'm trying to figure out is there a way to, let's say, not coerce, but to tease out from someone carefully, safely, a way to tease out, asking, what is it that you are actually wanting? Where is your rationale?
you're walking on eggshells there, but I totally understand. I totally get you where you're going with that.
Okay.
But the goal, if you're going to change their mind, one way or another, you're going to be making them feel uncomfortable.
Well, yes, but
But
you're getting ahead of the card at the moment. But go ahead.
But if you're going to make them feel, if it's you making them feel uncomfortable, whatever you're trying, it has good chances of not working. What you have to do is make themselves feel uncomfortable with themselves.
And that's kind of part of the area that I was going down. So the way that I've been thinking about this was trying to figure out, like I said, try to tease out from someone, use whatever little bits and pieces to figure out what is the nugget at the base of whatever their uncritical examination, their uncritical position is. Why is? And then instead of here's this fact, here's this fact, here's this fact, and wallpapering somebody with facts, which does not work. It may be completely correct information, but just like with the old really bad tech support joke, yeah, you can give somebody all the correct information, but it's absolutely useless because it doesn't help.
Remember that does not match the pattern equals bad for them.
Right. So what I've been thinking about trying to do is tease out what that nugget is, and then start working on the crap. What was it called? Brigid, help me on this. What was it? The question response. What was it? The Socratic method? Was that what it was called?
Socratic method. Yeah.
Okay. And asking, okay, this is what. God, do I want to go down? Shit, I don't have too much of a choice. Okay, as an example, the border wall. I know, I can hear you all rolling your eyes as it is. I'm trying really hard right now not to do it for myself. But because it's hot on everybody's, one of the nuggets that I've seen was these people who are coming through illegally are bad people. I'm boiling down a lot of it because one of the arguments that I had with somebody was I've kind of talked about this before. They're in emergency services. They end up seeing stuff happen in Metropolis City where 20 years on the force, and I did the whole thing with the study that shows that more immigrants, crime goes down. What you're seeing is just your vision, but be that as it may.
And if they're working in emergency services and things like that, they're only going to see the bad.
See, and that's one of the things that I was also trying to point out. But going ahead and pointing that out, this was also the same guy that said, oh, that scientific study where 5 scientists were part of it that collected data over 40 years across the country, that's somebody's term paper. I'm not interested in that. Yeah. So here's the piece that I've been thinking
so
about.
So are they wrong?
Who?
Well, that would be what I would ask. No, they say they're saying it's a term paper. So I would say to them, well, does that mean that the term paper or whatever it is wrong? The statistics are false.
Yeah, I
and you see the level of analysis that they're doing is like none.
Yeah.
And that's what the problem is.
Yeah. But what I think that I want to try to do is to try to attack a piece of whatever that nugget is. If their position is immigrants are degenerates, they are sex traffickers, they are rapists, they are holding people hostage in apartments in a walk-up in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, all this kind of stuff. And I mentioned Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, because I'm originally from Brooklyn a little ago.
New Jersey will do just as well.
Yeah, I don't know Jersey that well, but be this way. But to try to tease out one piece, what is it that you think is wrong with these people?
And be careful there, because you're walking on eggshells again, because you're in a way you're talking their language,
Yes, that's intentional.
you're no, but you're putting the point of attention where it's supposed to be, because Trump wants people's attention on the wall to distract from the real problems. It's just a distraction. I would bring that into the argument because that's totally outside of their
No, I
thought
disagree.
bubble.
I disagree wholeheartedly, because if you go ahead and tell somebody you're concentrating on this wall because that's what you've been told to concentrate on, to do the smoke and
Why are
mirror.
you thinking about the wall?
Wait,
Just ask the question.
wait. If you do that, you then start to go down the rabbit hole of you're being duped and taken for a ride by a charlatan, and that immediately throws up blockades.
You don't have to say that. If you say it like that, yeah, you're going to get that reaction.
You don't have to, because they're going to go ahead and they're going to say, they're going to put the connect the dots themselves, because they've heard all the talking points too. And
well, it goes back to what you were saying earlier about the Socratic method. I mean, if you ask them why are you paying attention? How do you know that the wall is that this is a problem? Or why is your attention on the wall, and like, why is this important to you? And if you follow that rabbit hole back far enough, it will always come to the answer will be it's because that's what they told me. That's what they told me to think about.
yeah,
That they told me this was a problem.
Yeah, and they obviously, if anybody follows down that questionnaire and get something resembling an answer, it's not going to be exactly that wording. It'll boil down to that, but people will not just say, yeah, I was told to do this because, well, I'm going to do this because I was told to do this because I'm a sheep. Nobody is going to go ahead and admit to that.
But that's not what you're trying to get them to. You're not trying to get them to admit anything.
No.
Maybe to see it.
Folks might, but
you're right. You have to be damn careful how you word that, because it has to be. They have to be confronted with themselves, with their own thought processes, not confronted with you. Because as soon as you enter the question, then the blinds go up and the discussion's over.
Right. Now, where I want to try to get to is, what is it that is important to you about your position? Let me word it that way, because it's a little bit more generic that way.
I would even leave you out of it if it's possible. And this is really walking on eggshells, but I've learned to use the third person subjective. Like, instead of saying you, it's almost using a third person as an example. Like, one, instead of saying you should do, saying instead one should, or one might, or you see where I'm going?
I do, but I think that where you're going right now is
it's basically extracting the personal from the conversation and just burying it and just leaving the facts.
Okay. Let me finish showing you where how I'm trying to go through this, because what I've got is a different piece from what you. I'm not saying either one of us is right or wrong, just that different approaches.
We're talking around something here,
right? Whereas my idea is to try to get, okay, what is it that is valuable to you in your position on whatever the argument is, so that I can find out, well, exactly that. What is it that seems to be at close enough to the core that they're willing to give up? Because there is a certain level of security that people don't want to give away a piece of themselves, because of the way these arguments work.
Essentially, what you're asking is, why do you do what you do, or why do you think what you think?
Um, partially, but I want to get to a piece of, and a small enough piece, an innocuous enough piece that someone is willing to give up to say, as an example, I don't want my family to have their jobs taken by an illegal immigrant. As an example, complete example. Now, it is entirely possible that that may be a smaller piece, an outer layer, if you will. But
I'm sorry, but my answer to that would be, well, you want people in your family working in, checkout counters and
yeah, see, but see now that then gets to the mocking part, and that throws up shields from people because nobody wants
that's
to be
why I
mocked.
laughed, because
No,
that's
I know.
something it's something you'd think, but you could never say.
No, I know. Well, one would hope. But whereas my idea would be to try to remind myself to listen to what it is first, empathize, pardon me, understand the position and what probably prompts it, to empathize with what is valuable enough in that piece, and then walk it back into something that we would consider more rational. As an example. As an example.
Oh.
As an example. I don't want it. I don't want illegal immigrants coming across and taking jobs away from my family and me and people like that. You know what? I get you. I don't want people. I don't want people who should not be here to be taking jobs that they shouldn't be allowed to have in the first place either. I get that. I'm with you. Now you see where I've got so far. There's an agreement part that's good to me because that gives a little bit of a connection. It's not a strong one, but it is a connection to say that, look, I'm with you so far. So far so good. But then to follow that up with, okay, I agree with you that people who shouldn't be here should not be taking these jobs. It's great. I get you with that. But how do we properly stop that with what we've already got in place now?
I don't think either you or they could answer that.
I'm sure that if somebody was going down through the emotional circuit, there would be sputterings about build a wall, put up barbed wire, drone strikes, landmines, the whole thing.
Do you see where this is going? Because, sorry, in my mind, like, even the point of discussion, I mean, how damaging is illegal immigration to the economy? What's doing the most damage to the economy? And the entire discussion becomes moot because illegal immigration, its impact on the economy is next to nil. But whereas you've got the big petrol companies and the corporations doing all sorts of things. So you've got the elephant in the room, and we're, trying to move away the elephant to talk about the grain of sand that it's sitting on.
I understand that.
And I could not keep this out of my mind when I'm having a discussion like this about illegal immigration.
No, I
which is why I don't. This is why I don't go into discussions like this.
Felix has gone ahead and said, annex Mexico and start collecting taxes? No. And I have an answer, and I'm going to give you the answer as a direct message over on Discord momentarily, because I don't want my answer out in the open right now. There's reasons for it, but
punk or edgelord?
Yes. Anyway, but where I would be, where I think that the problem that the problem that I have with how you're approaching, okay, well, immigration, you don't want people to have you don't want people who are in the country illegally to have jobs. Well, your way of talking about it is, okay, you want to talk about this, but what about all of this on top of it that's not even making it an issue?
No,
Instead,
it's bringing context to the thing you're talking about. Is it that big a problem? It's asking the question, is it that big a problem? Is it really a problem? Why are you thinking about this and not the bigger problems? Why are you thinking what you're thinking? And this is exactly the question that most non-critical thinkers don't ask themselves. And basically what you're trying to do, or what it would seem to me anyways, is that you're trying to lead them to reason, to critical thought.
well, I'm looking to I'm looking to pull someone first into being willing to have even a partial discussion.
Mm.
I'm trying to pull somebody just enough away from their whatever their post is in the sand to have them realize that, yes, I get where you're coming from, but I don't agree with the methodologies that you're trying to go through.
Mm.
And
Essentially, you're trying to get them to trust you.
I can't say that you're wrong.
But you're totally right, because that's the way there. Because, in order for them to change their minds, to accept any part of what you're saying, you have to be quote unquote in their minds, you have to be quote unquote on the same side in
Right.
their minds.
Or at the very least, to be able to recognize what somebody else's point is, recognize that there is agreement on some portion, and then to find where the disagreement is to try to work through this. Now, Brigid, I'm assuming that you are back at this point. I wasn't sure because
Yeah.
you muted out. Okay. I want to get you for this part because we've talked about this part before. You and I have spoken about on a couple of times that once upon a time, political discourse in the U.S. was not what it is now, where other people are just line in the sand, and that's it. Whereas once upon a time, it was, look, we agree on what the problem is. I think this is the way to fix it. I think this is the way to fix it. Let's hash it out.
Mm-hmm.
You are, forgive me, and I'm probably gonna get hell for this, but I don't care.
I'm old enough to remember when it was that way.
I wasn't gonna say. I was absolutely gonna say that, but but it is true.
Mm-hmm.
We are both old enough to remember when this used to be the way that it worked.
When people worked across the aisle with each other, and there was some compromise involved, and both sides might not get exactly what they wanted out of something, but they would get something good enough, acceptable to them.
And there were very few times where anybody would actually say, look, we absolutely cannot come to an agreement on how to work through a problem. It was considered a, God, am I going to actually say this
right?
right?
Together to come up with a solution that was acceptable to both sides. Might not be perfect, but it was good enough.
And dare I say, it was considered a duty.
Mm-hmm. That's back when we had true politicians and statesmen.
And I think that's part of where I'm kind of trying to pull this together from. Where
how do we get back to that? I mean, that is what is desperately needed, and not just for politicians, but for the population in general.
Yeah, and that was something else that we ended up talking about last week too, where it was why do you think that rules are in place? Is it because of the emotional part that these laws came into being, or do you feel that are you upset because people are breaking those rules? I'm not saying it quite right from what we said last week, but I had said that, for me as a kid, you played by the rules because you played by the rules. And one of the things that's kind of stuck with me was trying to answer one of the questions that he had, which was, for me, the rules, laws,
Mm-hmm.
are in place to make sure that everyone gets a fair shake. Were the rules put in place, were the laws put in place because people were upset? Maybe, probably. And it would make sense to me, because if people were treated unfairly, then that would be good enough reason for society to say, hey, this is wrong because people are not being treated correctly because they're not being treated fair. How about we put into an agreement for society that we're not going to do that anymore? I know that you were going to say something, Joe. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking you were talking about political rules, but
well, it does
rules in general.
Yeah, it does follow into that, though.
Yeah, well, I would. I think you have to make a distinction, because I think a lot of political rules are there to shut the other side up.
See, the problem of it is, I get the funny feeling that that's a much more recent development.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, but that's what's evil about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with society. It's within, you've got the rules for the internal political function. And outside of that, the connection to the outside world is voting. And they got the rules for general society. And quite often, people in one sphere aren't even aware of the rules in the other sphere.
And that's a problem, because
Trump thinks himself exempt from any of quote unquote common people rules.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right. Well, wait a second. Let's be fair. Brigid, you and I both know full well the idea that there are different strata for who's supposed to be following which rules. We know full well that's been a problem for, well, let's face it, decades, probably centuries at this point.
I'd say ever since the founding of the country, really.
And I think, a lot of people who put these trip up the opposition rules in place, I think they must be laughing their asses off, because the opposition, they obey.
Yeah.
That's why the Democrats have the majority now, but is that changing anything? No.
I don't. Okay, the question of, is anything changing from that? I don't know that it isn't. As somebody, okay, this is a different piece from it all, but as somebody had pointed out, there are more Democrats that came in, especially women, which, by the way, thank you, ladies. But one of the pieces that was really important about it was, as was pointed out, the big influx of elected Democrats was against the flow, because of gerrymandered districts that were heavily favored towards Republicans over several decades. The fact that the fact that much more Democrats were elected, I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry, even with the deck stacked against them, says to me that there is something that is changing, even if it's not necessarily visible.
I just wanted to withdraw my point, actually, because the government shutdown wouldn't have happened if things weren't changing.
That's
because Trump found himself against an opposition he couldn't surmount. So that's why he shut the government down. So things are changing. I'm sorry for saying that. But
no, it's perfectly
I'm
fine.
kind of reflecting back to the Obama presidency, where a minority could tie his hands, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And Obama would not resort to things like, government shutdown to get his, quote unquote, his irrational way. This kind of environment didn't exist then. And there, the Democrats literally did have their hands tied because, they wouldn't take the low road. But things are a bit different now.
And I think that people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are going to turn things on their head. I mean, she is just so awesome at using social media and turning things against people who are trying to tear her down. She'll turn it back on them, and she's brilliant at
it. Study her method, maybe.
Her method is real simple. She's a bulldog right now. She's gone in there and she said, you guys want to go ahead and play by the rules? That's fine. I'll play by the rules, and nothing in the rules says I can't go walking all the halls to try to find goddamn Mitch McConnell and tell him to get his ass back into his seat and get this goddamn thing running again.
Yep.
And holy shit, what a great breath of fresh air.
She's feisty.
She's pissed off.
Whereas we're trying to get into discussions with rational people through a will you accept me approach. She's her tone is more accept this.
Well, there's a reason why I believe that it will
and
work.
Here's why.
For her. Here's why I think it will work. Because, like I said, she's following the rules. She's walking the halls. She's fine. She's going looking for his ass. She's looking to drag him back to his seat to make him do his job and to shame him into doing his job. And that's why I think her brand of firebrand right now will work in the long run because he can be shamed into doing his job because if not personally shamed, professionally shamed, because more and more people in the Republican Party, the lay people in the Republican Party, are more and more realizing, hey, he is being an asshole and she's bringing him to the carpet. Damn.
Well, shit, you're onto something there because, like, shaming. Okay, a critical thinker would not think to shame the adversary. He would think to, bring them the facts in the softest way possible. But we have to remember the audience here because shaming works for Republican voters. If you publicly shame their quote unquote leader, that has an effect.
Well, all right. Now this is the tricky part because you can shame anybody you want in a lot of different ways, but it has to be for it doesn't matter if it's a Republican.
It has to stand the testing.
It has to stand the test very, very harshly. Otherwise, ain't gonna take any ideologically set personality ain't going to take it, and they're going to see it as a direct attack on themselves unless you can really show that there is no way around it, and even then it's dicey at best.
Yeah, the reaction is almost unpredictable. But it's important to say this because this fact, not this because I said so.
Yeah. As far as to it being unpredictable, no.
Well, it depends. It's it's almost like watching a flock of birds flying, all over the place.
No,
Um,
no,
no,
no.
because
I'll tell
if
you.
if the majority, if the majority acknowledge the shaming, then it could work. But if a majority just reject the shaming and rally behind their leader to protect their leader, it could have the adverse effect.
Yeah,
It could just bring up the volume of the noise machine.
yeah, I can kind of tell you on this one. There's either one of two ways that things can play out. One, you get a convert to rational discourse.
So
Whether
they,
they end up agreeing with you or not is a different matter, but at least reasonable discourse.
so you want them to switch to critical thought.
I would be happy for someone to go with critical thought. I
Will
don't.
they?
I would love someone to switch to my side, but I would be so much. I would feel so much better if we actually took somebody who was going by entirely emotions and finally got them to say, fine, you know what? I will just go ahead and work with the data, okay? Fine. I would be happy with that. But the other piece that I was going to get to, Brigid, you know probably as well as I do because reasons. If you take someone or a non-rational animal, shall we say,
Mm-hmm.
and you threaten and you put them in a corner that they can't get out of, whether figuratively or literally, what's going to have happen?
They're gonna lash out, fight back. Or, the other side of that is they could just remain in the corner cowering and do nothing.
Why did they feel cornered?
Cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, that could be.
Mm-mm. But putting
And
them in that corner is a hard thing already.
yeah,
It means you've
well,
already accomplished something.
how about this one? And dealing with stuff here in the US. If you are presented with the question, um, sorry, if you are presented with the question, how many school children's deaths are acceptable enough for your right to own a firearm?
And the answer should be zero, but obviously it's not.
But if you really want to look at that, um, if you follow that rabbit hole all the way down, their answer will be any number as long as it's not my child.
Mm-hmm.
And that, of course, will never enter the discussion, but that's the pattern. That's the evident pattern.
Well, I mean, it's what we're seeing now with this whole government shutdown thing is people who were not personally affected, they really don't care. When it affects
Uh,
them personally and they're not getting paid and their children are not getting fed, then all of a sudden they care a whole lot.
And you'll see the same pattern everywhere, conservative families with, gay family members. Ones with gay family members that they haven't kicked out tend to be more accepting.
Yep. Who wait a second. Who was it? It was Bridget, wasn't it am I thinking of Bob Dole had a daughter or someone close that
Dick Cheney.
Cheney
Dick
did,
Cheney.
his daughter.
That's who it was. Um yeah,
But Dick Cheney's a critical thinker.
I don't know that I agree.
He's evil because he knows full well what he does. But he's conscious of the facade he's presenting to the public. So to avoid that double entente he had to portray his acceptance. But anyway, I'm seeing the same pattern everywhere. It's like pattern matching.
Yeah.
Pattern matching to your own comfort bubble.
Yeah. And that's what kind of pulls this whole damn thing together. I mean, we can talk all day about how we see people on the other side of an argument from us, how in a lot of ways we end up having arguments more with the people who are not thinking critically through something, who are not following the evidence, who are not listening to the data, who are not bothering to even acknowledge the fact that data exists.
And if they could do that, why are we even talking about what we're talking about? Would be the topic of the conversation.
There would be nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
The problem ends up being that sometimes we kind of forget that we've got our own biases and we've got our own lack of how do I word it properly? Our own lack of perspective of how to get through to these people. I know that the argument is in these situations is not to change the mind of the other person, but to change the mind of those that are watching from the outside. But
that follow that one down, because what you're doing, and I've seen this point, and you're completely right, but I've never seen this point followed through. The reason why the audience is more important than the actual person being talked to is because the people watching don't feel confronted.
And there are more of them.
Yeah. So,
yeah, they don't have an emotional dog in the race, as it were.
And you are not in their thought process. You are not in the question. There's no confrontation. That's my point.
Yeah. But unfortunately, we still end up with the people who are on the sidelines watching, who are still firmly in whichever camp. And that's one of the problems. That's where the problem runs into. But
not always.
No, true. Not always. There are those people who are on the sidelines who are still maybe not as well versed, or who are still kind of hanging back and waiting. There's one type of person that I really hate right now. Oh God, I'm gonna air some dirty laundry for a second. The people right now who are saying all this stuff about Trump that's coming out. I'm sorry, I've got to lay this one out. All the stuff that's coming out about Trump, instead of just leaking all this information, just lay it out there on the table and prove to us that you've actually got some stuff, because otherwise I'm not going to believe it, and screw y'all, it's never going to happen because he's my guy, and fuck y'all. Right. Yeah, I went ahead and I used the F-bomb. I don't care. But then when confronted by the question, you're big and yelling and everything, and you're belittling everybody, even with all this problematic stuff that seems to be coming out, that all seems to link together, if it's proven, are you going to be just as loud to tell this guy off and get him out? Oh, sure, absolutely. I'll be absolutely 100% behind getting them out of there, but it's never going to happen anyway, and screw y'all. Can you hear on the podcast my eyes rolling all the way to the back of the Andromeda Galaxy right about now? Oy freaking vey.
They're never gonna change minds ever.
No, they won't. And probably just up and disappear. And just, I never said any of that. And believe it or not, I've actually considered screen capping a lot of these conversations so that I can go back and say, yeah, you remember the time where you're an asshole about this and about this and about this, and you said that you'd actually turncoat if this ever came out? Well, here's your day of reckoning. Yeah, well, we'll see. But the funny part of it is, these people who say, I'm willing to wait and see, and in the next sentence, go ahead and berate people for being libtards, and you're just all kinds of scared, and you've been denigrating this guy from day one, and the whole you guys pretty well know the type of personality I'm talking about.
Yeah, I work with a couple of that kind of person, where they're like, well, instead of tearing down Trump and saying all these horrible things about him, you got to lift him up in prayer. And I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Let's see that. Nobody has been harsher on me than any other president. Yeah, you've seen the response to that one, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's so bullshit.
Yeah. For those of you that are wondering what the answer to that one has been, of DJ claiming that nobody has been harsher on him as president than any other president in history. Yeah. Have you heard about the one president that got literally shot in the face? I'm pretty sure you haven't been shot in the face. Just saying.
Yeah.
But in any case, I guess the thing that I'm looking to kind of finish up with this whole damn thing is that, as much as I know that the arguments and the discussions, especially online these days, are less for converting another person than for trying to have others who are not in either crosshair to hear the facts and to see where these things run.
Mm-hmm.
I may be, and you'll forgive me for wording it this way, I may be running my head straight into a brick wall, but I do still firmly believe, I still hold on to that one little nugget of hope that maybe, just maybe, I can actually make that connection with the other person. And even if not, get them to agree with me and change their position, but to listen enough to understand the rationale. I know in a lot of ways it's kind of a pipe dream to want with the way that things are in the current climate. But I do still believe that the statesman model, the fair play model, the idea that we can disagree but still work towards a collective solution is still possible.
It's just very difficult with the current climate, and it's going to take a lot to change the climate.
Agreed. It's really agreed. And it's tough to listen to so much of the stuff, the back and forth. It's hard to listen to how caustic, can't think of a better word for it, this ends up being in so many ways, and not want to find a way to stop that from happening, to find a way for people to just, okay, yeah, enough yelling and screaming. Let's actually deal with the problem at hand.
But the part of the larger problem, though, is it seems to have spread, to other countries as well. They're having the same type of issues and having their own versions of DJ. And I don't understand what's up with that.
I don't either. I worry that there is, I am so going to sound like I'm a conspiracy theorist for a couple of seconds here, but I seriously concern once in a while thinking about this, that maybe there has been nefarious stuff that's been going on in other countries. Let's face it, the United States does not have clean hands where it comes to various other countries and their election cycles.
That's a fact.
And all these military bases in other countries. Have you looked at how those are placed?
Specifically, no.
Well, right near the resources, natural resources.
Mm. That's kind of scary.
Yep. Yeah. It's
That's the man behind the curtain. But with this presidency, and with presidencies like Putin, they discovered that the man doesn't necessarily have to be behind the curtain. He can be in full view, and still nobody will pay attention to it.
Yep.
yes,
and I definitely think that he's behind, some of this in other countries as well.
I'm sorry, what?
And I fully believe that Putin is behind some of the other things we're seeing in other countries as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, let's face it, the 50s through the 70s, I mean, what was it? Was it Eisenhower that had talked about the domino theory back in Asia? Am I thinking of the right guy?
Not sure.
Anyway.
This is where we need Joey.
Yeah.
But the domino theory requires conformism, where if one falls, then the next would fall.
Yes.
I'm following rabbit holes again. I'm sorry.
No,
basically you've got a small contingent of critically thinking people manipulating a greater non-critically thinking population. So if you can sway the opinion of the majority in one country, it's going to affect the next one.
Or maybe not necessarily sway it so much as put your thumb on the scale and influence it the hard way with flooding the market with cheap goods so that you get a foothold and take over the market, and then all of a sudden you can just raise prices to whatever, and be a shame if suddenly your economy were to suddenly fall apart. Oh God, I can't believe I'm just outing my entire Italian culture now.
If China decides to put up their prices by 10-20%,
yep,
that's a big uh-oh.
Yeah.
Or if they come into us and decide to claim the debt that we owe them due paid in full, what would we do?
Learn Chinese.
Yeah.
Nope. I know what'll end up happening. I know exactly what'll end up happening.
I said that jokingly, by the way.
No, I know. But to that end, and we who have studied history know full well how horrible an idea it is. Treaty of Versailles.
Which one?
Germany. What
After
did they
the First World War?
Yep. What did they do to pay reparations? Do you remember?
Taxes.
No.
That was a tax to pay the debt. The German people were taxed to pay the
they
debt.
They were, yes.
Right.
But that wasn't the biggest way that they ended up paying it.
Do say, sir.
They did the most simple thing possible. They simply fired up the printing presses and printed more Deutschmarks. It didn't matter that it didn't have any real use as a monetary currency. It didn't have any actual value. They just had to hand over suitcases of money to pay for the reparations because that's what was paid for, because that's what was asked for.
Whereas the German people had to have suitcases of money just to buy bread.
Yep. Jeez. Can't imagine that ever happening here again because, well, that would be the easiest solution, wouldn't it be?
Well, that's exactly what would end up happening.
Yep. Yep. And
I'm sorry, I came back into this discussion after a brief absence, so I'm not sure if I'm
no,
leading it down a tangent.
No, we're good.
And it'd be basically what happened in, is it Venezuela?
Which part are you talking about?
Where they're having to have suitcases of money just to buy necessities.
Rampant inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Hyperinflation, yeah. I don't remember which country that's in. The biggest one that I remember was Germany, post World War
I mean, currently now.
No, I know.
Venezuela?
I don't remember, truth be told.
And this is leading to another discussion, but where we won't go probably today, but the actual value of money, because, until now it was the value of $1 was labor-based, but now we're veering towards another market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and before that it was metal. But it's neither here nor there for the moment. Stephanie had put, by the way, apparently saying to me, that's not conspiracy theory and is not countries, but the rich within those countries who want control. Also followed up with, oh, the rich do not think critically. The smart ones know that starving people do not buy anything.
Yeah. Oof.
But they're in a position to where it doesn't affect them.
There's 3 different levels to society. I wrote a paper on this not too long ago of shepherds, sheepdog, and sheep. And the people who are fully aware of what's going on, who are very few, they're the ones that toss scraps to the second level, which are the sheepdogs. People who don't think critically but toe the line, follow orders. And the rich tend to be in the top 2 tiers. And the people at the very top, the people at the bottom don't even matter because, they can't contribute anything to their wealth.
There's a certain point of stupid levels of wealth that is positively insane.
Mm-hmm.
There was something that I had... Sorry.
Oh, yeah, it leads to other discussions like, the rules you were referring to earlier, normally those rules are in place to prevent things that our society considers damaging to it. But it's funny how the effect of profit on the economy never enters a discussion because profit is actually damaging to the economy.
One of the things that I had seen was...
profit is money earned beyond the actual value of the thing sold.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. The thing that I had seen about...
so where does that come from?
Pardon?
So where does that excess, where is that coming from?
I don't know at the moment.
Yeah, well, that explains the wealth divide. It's actually taken out of the economy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just another discussion for another day. Sorry.
No, I mean it's true. People who are ultra wealthy like that generally don't consume as much as people in the middle class. They use that money to try to obtain more money and find tax shelters and things like that. They're not really contributing to anything.
Please explain the logic of spending a small amount of overhead in another country to make a product and then importing it to your own country and expecting the people that you didn't hire to make that product to buy it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm scrolling through my my Facebook feed in a slightly different window because there was a piece that I saw earlier today. I don't know that I'm going to be able to find it, and I'm going to have to basically paraphrase it.
Well, the logic in that is in the short term, they will be able to profit off of it. In the long term, not so much because people will run out of money and not be able to purchase their product. But they're
That's
thinking
exactly
short term. And
Yeah.
so
My bubble now.
Yep.
There we go.
Or for the next 6 months, and after that, we don't have any.
Yeah, just
long-range plans.
the returns for the next quarter, and that's it, or the last quarter.
Yep.
And shareholders tend to be sheepdogs, which means people who do not think critically and just react to the here and now.
What I was looking for was an exchange that had happened apparently on some social media or other, and I don't think that I'm going to be able to find it. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling. I also opened up my calculator so I can kind of work it out for myself separately, because this is I don't even remember where it was. See, this is the moment where I suddenly realized to myself, I should have just posted it into the HCTV group and just been done with it, because I lose so many damn stories that I don't even go, I'm an idiot. Okay.
It's actually a good idea.
Yeah, I should do that much more often. I've only done it a handful of times, but anyway.
I have to empty my bookmarks folder once every 6 months.
Yeah. Well, we will see how this plays out. So let me go ahead and work this. Somebody had said, somebody who has $1 billion should not live in the same society as someone who needs public assistance in order to just live if they're working. That right. It's simply a social immorality to have that type of society.
And somebody else said that an economy, the strength of an economy, can only be measured by its poorest members.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
but the numbers that the Trump administration is crowing is the the GDP and all that, but most of that is earned by the top 9% or something like that.
Not even.
That doesn't even, for the guy in the street, that doesn't even exist.
Yeah. So the discussion kind of went back and forth about the usual talking point of, well, are you simply against people working hard? Because if you say that they're not allowed to have that much money, what's to incentivize them to actually work towards, earning more money?
To find work in that. Shareholders do not work, but they're the ones earning the most money.
Mm-hmm.
That
having money is enough to make more money, but that's just,
But you have to have money to make money. All these tips for poor people on how to get ahead are worthless because it takes money to even get started. I mean,
bullshit.
Well, I mean, like if you, if $400 would totally ruin you financially, you're not going to be able to get out of that without some help. I mean, we have people who work 2 or 3 jobs, and if their car breaks down, all of a sudden they're jobless because they can't get to work.
Yeah. I've got 9 patents I'd like to put through, but I do not have the money to do it.
Yep. You have to have money in this society in order to make any money or to save up for anything. And, poor people do disproportionately spend more money because they are poor, because they can't invest in high quality products or, get maintenance on their cars or anything like that. And it does no good to beat them up and tell them that they're lazy, because they're not. They work harder.
it's more expensive to be poor than it is to be rich.
Yes, yes.
And it makes things even worse. And like these patents, if I was to put them out there, you know, and I don't have any means to produce them, then, you know, the idea is just going to be stolen by somebody who does have the means of production. They don't even have to know anything about the content of a patent to produce it. There's no work required. Just having the capital is enough.
So let me kind of run through, kind of recreate part of the discussion that had happened. Somebody was trying to point out trying to explain to people in their post how positively mind-bending it would be in order to conceptualize what $1 billion would be. Assume for a moment that you have an amazing job where you are paid $100 an hour. Follow me on this a second. $100 an hour, 40 hours a week, up to $4,000 a week. Let's assume 4 weeks a month. Just as an average, just because it'll work out that way. So, by 4 weeks, brings you up to $16,000 a month. Multiply that by 12 months, you now have $192,000 a year. Now, I know full well we're not talking about any kind of expenditures whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
No taxes, no outgoing money, doesn't really much matter. But that's where you are. You multiply that out in order to try to find out where $1 billion would bring you at this point. The question is, how many years would that be? Well, let's see. 10, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, million. 10 million, 100 million, 1 billion. I'm doing on my calculator over here. Divided by $192,000 a year. It would take you Am I reading this right? Good Christ, if I'm reading this right. Let me
It would take you hundreds of years.
Hold on. Let me rerun my numbers, because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. I'm thinking that I've got this wrong. So it would be $1 billion divided by $192,000 per year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 110, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, 100 million, billion, divided by 192,000, with zero expenditures. It would require 5,208 years to amass $1 billion.
Most people wouldn't even be able to conceptualize that.
I know.
Most people would never be able to spend that much in a lifetime.
No. Most people. Tell me, please, for the love of... You know what? Hold
Unless
on a second.
you bought whole islands or countries or something.
Hold that thought 1 second. 10, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, million. 10 million, 100 million, 1 billion. Divided by how many years would you like to go through $1 billion? You know what? Hold on. General life expectancy, 75 years. Sounds good?
Yeah.
By 75 years, you would have to spend over $13 million a year, every year of your life to blow through $1 billion.
I guess if you bought airplanes and things, it would be possible.
That's what's really funny about the Trump, his quote unquote fortune, because there's not accountants, but economists who calculated if he had taken his inheritance and just left it in the bank and not done any of the shit he did, he would be worth like some double. Crazy number. Oh, more than that.
The reason why I brought this up, besides the fact that I forgot what how insane this amount of money is that we're talking about. Wow, shit.
Well, you can also factor in, there's actually trying to consider its actual value, and there's also considering what you could do with it.
Mm-hmm.
I know. But the reason why I brought this up was that somebody had been trying to point out it is immoral for a society to allow someone to have this much money while there are still people who require assistance to simply survive.
And you have it there because it's like just a total absence of morals.
Mm-hmm.
As people, it's humans who live off of other humans without caring about their well-being.
And trying to take what little they have away from them.
Without even considering it, actually. All they know is that the money just keeps flowing in. That's all. They don't even think where it comes from. That's why I laugh at libertarians, because, they're people who would like to profit from a population without having to consider that population exists.
And the thing about it is,
it's a lack of responsibility, basically.
Well, what this argument had showed to me was that the difference between the critical thinker and the emotional thinker. The emotional thinker is the one who says, I don't want you taking away some of what I've got because I earned it, and why should you be allowed to take any of it?
I don't want you to change my behavior pattern, because there are people who are living in utter poverty who think that they're quote unquote comfortable. They don't want to change their behavior patterns. And that makes a lot of the Trump base.
It's people seems to
basically,
be a lot of them.
If you follow these rabbit holes, and these rabbit holes, they all lead to the same place. It's about people being responsible for their own survival. If you give that job to somebody else, well, that becomes a question of faith. If you're not able to judge the value of anything for yourself, then you have to trade that job to somebody else. And as soon as you do that, well, you can become their victim.
But to finish what my point was, the difference between the emotional thinker and the critical thinker is the difference between you shouldn't be allowed to take what I've worked so hard for, whether they worked hard for it or not, versus there is no way in reason for you to be able to spend this in your lifetime or your kid's lifetime or their lifetime.
But that's a thought for a critical thinker, not for an emotional
that's
thinker.
That's my point, Joseph.
Okay.
That's my point. That these people, when they're confronted with the actual facts,
but facts
still
aren't
don't
facts.
care.
Yeah, facts aren't facts to them. Facts are a concept. Reality is a concept to people like this, because somebody who doesn't know how to judge something for themselves, they don't understand the value of anything. They only know that their pattern, their behavior pattern is quote unquote working for them. And that's it.
Well, what I find highly offensive is you have people who are getting maybe $40 a month in SNAP benefits and they're working 3 jobs and people want to take that $40 away from them. I mean, why would you do that?
The answer to that is that, yeah, the real answer is distraction, because that's not the problem. The problem in the economy today is not SNAP benefits.
No, it's not. I mean, it's such a little tiny portion of,
like, it's not even noticeable.
right.
But all the sound, all the noises around that,
But it's like these ultra wealthy people. I mean, Mitch McConnell, well, the GOP in general want to strip all that away. And you have all these multimillionaires in Congress, and it's like, why do you want what you have in theirs too?
But they don't actually. It's just a display.
I don't know that that's necessarily the case.
It's no, but
because
yeah, go on. Sorry.
Because greed begets greed.
Yeah.
I have, but I could have more.
The greed, they just want to keep the money flowing into the same pockets, and
their own.
Yeah. So in this sphere, they want everything to remain in the same. They want everything. They want nothing to change there. So, but this is actually the source of the economy's problems. So in order to not affect that bubble, they have to distract attention elsewhere and put the blame elsewhere, which is, the wall is a result of that. Cutting SNAP benefits is a result of that. It all leads to the same place.
Can you imagine what would happen to their heads if we ended up going to a universal basic income?
I ask myself that a lot, actually.
Heads would explode.
Yeah, or they would find a way to manipulate that system too.
Oh, yeah. But they would not be in support of that at all. And that's actually a good solution to to keep the economy going if people had money to buy necessities.
Because we're not in a labor-based market anymore, whether we like to admit it or not.
At least not over here, that's for damn sure.
But it would create jobs, though. I mean, you'd have to have somebody to sell, food, somebody to stock up, supplies, and it would create jobs.
New markets, because we're locked into a labor-based economy system, but labor is disappearing. I mean, everything's becoming automated, and oh yeah, this is a very deep rabbit hole that we probably don't have time. No, but it's a real question.
We'll see about it.
Because the thing is with these sort of discussions, where you're talking about the specific things like the wall and all that, it's really hard to talk just about that, because it's something tied into a greater system. It's just like one aspect of a greater system. I don't see how it's possible to just talk about one specific detail in ignoring the rest. I mean, the whole is just so intertwined and complex that it takes a lot to unravel.
Well, I don't think the wall itself is that complex. I think the main motivation for the wall is just this white supremacist thinking. That's all it boils down to is racism. And I think that video that Shujin was showing us earlier points to that, when you have people, yelling, build the wall at indigenous people who were here before anybody else.
Yeah, I don't mean to go Godwin on people's ass, but I mean, the Second World War, well, the technique was to designate it's a blame game, basically. Everybody's unhappy, so tell people this is the reason why you're unhappy, and then attack it.
Scapegoating.
Yep, exactly.
We gotta close up shop over here in just a couple of moments, but sorry, I didn't greet you as soon as you got in. As you can probably imagine, we were bopping back and forth a little bit.
Hi, Joey.
Yeah, I hope you're doing okay, man.
Yeah, I just overslept. In fact, you didn't really even have to introduce me. I would have been just fine with just hanging out in the bleachers till the end of the show.
I know, but at the same time, if I didn't, there's a bunch of people who are just willing to go ahead and make reference to how much of an asshole I am that I didn't. So
I would say, given the time of my arrival, it would be perfectly understandable.
Yeah, but it's more for covering my own ass rather than being nice to you. So just you're welcome.
But you were talked about while you were gone briefly. This is where you say, "Oh, do tell."
No, he was referred to, and
you were referred to about we needed your history expertise.
Your input would be valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh dear.
Well, when it comes to history, you're very good at it. You're like probably the biggest history buff that I'm personally know.
And it was around Eisenhower, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well,
Eisenhower.
there were two pieces. One, the domino theory, was that Eisenhower?
Oh, I think so. We are talking about communism.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Well, we could have looked it up too. It was just a matter of we figured that if any of us would have known, like right.
Again, I overslept, meaning that
just woke up.
Just now waking up.
So you're not awake.
Not fully, no. But yes, right. Yes, it was Eisenhower.
Yeah, one for me. And the other one was post-World War I, the Treaty of Versailles, that Germany basically just said, sure, yeah, we'll pay all our reparations. We'll just fire up the presses and just print a whole ton of more money for you guys.
At which point the Deutschmark was just about valuable as its weight in wood.
So it's good to have confirmation that we actually knew what we were talking about this time. So thank you. Well, I mean, seriously, it's nice to know we actually remember our shit. It means he's taught us well.
Yes.
So thank you, Joe.
Yeah, well, in turn, all I can do is thank John Green and Hank Green and all the other wonderful folks over on YouTube.
Well, we desperately need more of that in society. My husband told me that only 4 out of 10 people know when Columbus actually came over. That's sad.
And even fewer know anything about Amerigo Vespucci or Leif Erikson.
I'm pretty sure that Columbus came over at about 10:15 in the morning, wasn't it?
Columbus came over right before a whole lot of people started dying.
Yeah.
He came for breakfast.
I was going to make a Brexit joke after that, but now I got nothing. So,
Breakfast Brexit.
yeah, I know. I'm trying to help Stephanie with a little smile. It's not going to work. Sorry, but
There is a joke to be made there, though.
So help me if you're going to go ahead and say, yeah, Brexit itself is the joke. I don't think that's going to go over well. Are you going to go?
Well, it kind of is. It's a very cruel joke.
It is.
It's that's about as dark humor as.
But I found it interesting that recent polling shows that if the referendum were to take place again, that Remain would win overwhelmingly.
It's but for that. Okay, are we going into this? But it's lose-lose for, because even if they don't join the EU or they've decided to leave, they're still going to have to abide by its rules. So they're going to be in it without having any say in it.
Right. But if they'd had a chance to do over, then the vote would have gone very differently.
Yeah. There might even have been some Russian manipulation in that too.
I bet there was. I'm pretty sure there was.
But unfortunately, at this point, we're not going to have any way of knowing, at the very least, not for a little while yet. But we're not going to go down that because
We don't have time.
We don't have time. And truth be told, there's too damned much. And yet again, it's going to be a whole other week of waiting to find out who's going to come up and actually admit to what. And we're not going to go down that rabbit hole now because, oh man, just
Yeah. I have 2 words. Marine Le Pen.
wait, what?
Marine Le Pen.
She's the French equivalent of, oh God, Spencer? She's a right-wing politician here in France. And that's another rabbit hole because
it is, but I think he was behind some of that as well. Wouldn't surprise me. We need to do a show
You think
on
Marine Le Pen was behind Brexit?
No, I think that Putin may have been behind her, surge in popularity there for a while.
Ooh, he does fan those flames, but I think it's a little more indirect.
Yeah.
Because all the politicians do the same thing: designate a scapegoat and blame all of quote unquote your unhappiness on them, and that's a party that doesn't even want to be elected. Really, they just it's the Front National, or they took another name now, but anyways, it's the same thing. But they just ride on. They're the ultimate, what is it, shitlords. They just ride on the reactions of people.
I believe the word you're looking for is troll.
Can't say as I disagree with that.
What is the French word for troll?
I have no idea. Troll, I think. And troll, maybe?
That's terribly convenient then.
Or I could just straight up Looney Tunes this crap and just say les trolls.
Yeah, which is quite the... No, it's in French. It's French. Troll is French as well.
You wanna see a troll right about now? But I'm tired.
Yeah, that's le tired. Yeah, okay. French à la...
Joey knows. Joey knows. No, it's a.
Where are you, my little Bobette?
That's a different one, and that was Mel Blanc. We do not speak ill of Mel Blanc.
The corned beef does not run from the cabbage.
We do not speak ill of Mel Blanc. Damn it! Don't do this to me.
I'm not speaking ill of Mel.
Kind of reminds me because trolling is also a form of fishing. So
For quite a
Let's-
while in my life, Mel could be considered one of the folks who raised me. Which is not to fault my mother, because being a single parent, working 2 jobs, and looking after 7 kids for several years by herself before my stepdad showed up
Wow.
was
That's rough. Oh my. Ugh.
You think that's rough?
But before
Yeah.
anybody starts playing any tiny violins,
I was going to say, you think that's rough. Imagine all the times where he actually ran into a wall, figuring that he'd actually put a hole in it that was his shape in the, because
no,
I was
you
thinking
see,
about her. Just oh my! I could not imagine doing that.
just so you know, and I've made this point before, and I will make it again. Back then, kids were smart enough not to think, oh, maybe I can try dropping an anvil on my friend's head and watch him go weep boo weep boo weep like an accordion.
Yeah. But still, single mom, 2 jobs, 7 kids. I just wow.
my granddad will not, to this day. I have no idea my granddad's lineage because he refuses to speak of his quote unquote father who left when he was like 3 or 4. My granddad who had to start working at 13 years old to support a family of 7.
Yeah.
But he's the one in my family who taught me most about life. So
fair enough. And just before we get out of here, Joe, yes, I actually do have a little miniature anvil.
Cast iron, let me guess.
I do believe so, yes. And before anybody asks, what am I doing with an anvil? About 40 or 50 reps a day. So, yeah, thanks for
that
asking.
little tool could be useful.
It is, actually. I bought it for the leather work that I was doing. And one of these days, I'm finally going to get back to doing again because I miss doing. Oh. I just looked on the backside of it. I don't think that it shows up on the camera, but it actually does say
Made
China.
in China.
Oh.
All hail the slave labor nation.
I do hope you plan to be washing your hands.
Yeah.
Huh?
The red paint.
Oh.
Yeah.
Lead. Yeah.
No, I bought this in the 90s. I don't expect that there would be any.
Even more reason.
Been chewing on it for years.
I'm not chewing. I don't. I don't.
Are you still have any teeth?
You want to see how much you pissed me off? Here you go. Here.
Oh.
Do you see what this is? Do you know what this is?
Yeah.
I think I've got a slot for
Yeah.
that.
For those of you that are listening who have no idea what I'm showing, I still am in possession of a wireless G PCM-CIA card. Yes, a PCM-CIA card from Comp USA.
And I've even got
Wow.
an
My
adapter.
computer.
I
My
can have a
computer
second. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I have an adapter for that. I can use that as a second Ethernet port.
Well, you say that. I can plug that into my computer as is right now.
You need it? I don't have any use for it.
Do I look like I need it?
We can't see you.
The fact that I'm on air with you right now shows that whatever I'm doing with my computer is working just fine.
That's perfectly fine. And Trippin is asking, is it a jeweler's anvil? No, actually, I was Catholic being brought up, so I don't know what you're asking. But
No, there's
thanks for it.
Catholic? How does Catholic come into this?
Yes, I've also been awake for how long and have had absolutely zero caffeine.
Yes.
You're hurting.
That's perfectly fine. All I know is that at this point, Trippin is probably laughing his ass off, or at least should be, because that was damned funny. We got to get done out of here because it's past that point. Guys, thank you very much for being with us tonight. Hope you had yourself fun and found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives. I know normally I'd give us all an opportunity to say some closing, but I think at this point we've pretty well run the gambit of we're past the point of actually talking about the topic, and we'll just move on from here. Joe,
I'm just I had something to say. Yeah, for one.
You know what? Fine. Say it.
No, I mean I actually participated this episode a lot more.
You had no choice.
I had no choice because there were only three of us.
Maybe I should sleep in more often just to bring Brigid out of her shell.
You know what? Screw you, man. You do that again, I'm docking.
Docking your pay.
Next time this happens, I'm going to sign off, and then it's going to be just you two.
No.
You know what, Joey? You here. You know what? I won't dock your pay. I'll just find and send you as many copies as I can of this movie. How's that?
My God, did they? Oh, yeah.
What did I miss?
What did you hear? I'll send you as many copies of this as I can find.
It's okay. I could always use fresh skeet ammo.
Can I close with a joke?
When I get to you. Joey, glad you were able to make it even briefly. You have a good morning going back to sleep again. Anything that you want to say before we close you out here?
I'm glad I don't do drugs because with the dream that just woke me up, I don't want to see what that would be like on drugs.
Fair enough. Joseph, you want to go ahead and close with a joke? You go ahead and close with a joke.
Oh, it's just, kind of referring to our earlier discussion. But, it's cold outside and, well, many different elements lead to this. But there were two Canadian ice fishers, fishing through a hole in the lake, and they're like there for hours and hours and hours, and they're not catching anything. And then all of a sudden, a skidoo goes by, snowmobile, and the one fisherman looks to the other and goes, "No wonder we're not catching anything. We should be doing what he's doing, trolling."
Ice hole. They were fishing in an ice hole.
That's what I said. No,
that's
You don't get the joke.
Don't worry about it. Some people get it. Don't worry about it. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate it.
Well, yeah. Hats off to my granddad for that one.
Brigid.
Yes, if you want to find me, you can find me on Facebook, Brigid Fitch, or my blog, brigidfitch2112.com. And the only thing that I have to add, which doesn't have anything to do with anything really.
Hold it. What website? Because the last I knew, I didn't think that you had brigidfitch.com.
That was brigidfitch2112.wordpress.com. Sorry. But when we were talking about Dick Cheney and his daughter earlier and changing minds, I heard something kind of funny today. I went to go see Bohemian Rhapsody a couple days ago. Very good movie. But I was listening to an interview with Rami Malek, and he said that some people who went to the show were actually offended to find out that Freddie Mercury was gay and walked out of the show. And I'm like, how would people not know?
That was hilarious. Like growing up in the 1970s, like all these, I would see rockers in every street corner with like long hair, like trying to look as badass as possible, with Queen on the back of their jackets and all that. And then that "I Want to Be Free" video came out.
But to all of a sudden discover in this movie that he's gay and then get up and be offended and walk out. I mean, really? Who didn't know?
Freddie we skeptics, we critical thinkers, we atheists would probably be some of the first persons to say, if we were ever going to worship someone as if they were a god,
It would
Freddie
be
Mercury's voice would be the voice of that god.
yes, it was an excellent movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
I saw it twice. I almost
You
cried.
fucking show off, man.
Yeah,
Really?
I
Thanks.
have to go back and see it again. I have to.
And most people don't even understand he's Indian.
Not exactly. He was from
Or half?
Or
Zanzibar.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
And he wasn't gay. He was
was
bisexual.
bisexual. Yeah,
But of course, you know, you get painted with as wide a brush as people are willing to understand.
well, I think when they saw the first kiss with another man, they like got freaked out and left theater or something.
Oh my god, my bubble!
Yeah, my bubble just broke. Ah! I just found it funny.
The reoccurring thing that I see up on the internet, because the internet is the internet, and we all know what that means. But especially on like image boards and such, one of the more common insults to throw out there is OP is a faggot. Well, somebody went ahead and decided to turn that on its head by saying OP is a faggot, but he's a cool faggot, like Freddie Mercury.
I miss Freddie.
And I would reduce that to OP is cool.
And here's the thing about it, knowing the kind of person that Freddie was, if he was alive to get the references and understand the culture behind those, he'd probably laugh about it.
He was...
It was amazing.
Just the thing that comes across like in his singing, and I have to say that, you know, Queen wasn't really my cup of tea growing up, but it's just the emotional content. It's almost a joy. It's a joy, you know, like the energy behind his voice is just amazing. It's just a happiness to be alive. I mean, that's what I take from it, anyways.
Yeah, you know what I'll do. I will link in for the show notes Queen's performance at Live Aid, because short of Queen's actual concert at Wembley, which was masterful, knowing the story behind Queen being at Live Aid made it so much more impressive. I'll link in the performance, and I'll just ask that folks find out a little bit more about what led up to them not wanting to be there and then deciding, yeah, okay, we'll be there, because of what they had to go through. So we'll just go ahead and close up the night at this point. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. If you would like to find all of our social links and contact information, please take a swing over to holycrapthevlogcast.com. If you would like to get the audio-only podcast version, the link is over on the left side of the screen for that. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail message, number is 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. And of course, if you'd like to drop a couple of bucks our way, feel free to, over at patreon.com/HCTV. In the meantime, as usual, we know full well that there's been a lot of not real fun in the news. We're going to do our best not to inundate you with that stuff. We're going to keep trying to sidestep it, because you got a whole bunch of other groups that are planning on, working you through with all that. But if there is something that is really, really nasty, or really, really thought-provoking, or really important to understanding what's going on for the human condition, I'm going to try hard not to have us go down that rabbit hole, but if we've got to, it's going to be something that's really necessary as far as I'm concerned. I just hope otherwise. For those of you that are in the path of the heavy-duty snows, please be safe. Please be safe and stay warm.
In all possibility, I'm starting to wonder whether or not we're going to get lucky down here. Right now, all we have is heavy rain.
We'll
One thing I'm
see.
glad of is I had been planning to drive to Cleveland this weekend, and I am so glad I did not do that.
Why, in the name of all that is holy, would you drive to Cleveland?
Because I would have had a chance to actually meet Geddy Lee in person and thank him. But now I don't. That would have been today.
Thank him for what?
For playing the soundtrack to my life, for all the great music that he did.
Or, you know, because it was worthwhile this week, you could have thanked him for being a friend. I'm going to get away with this one just this once.
Yeah.
By the way, Betty White.
Oh, I love her.
Happy 97th birthday, hon. We're glad that you're still with us. We're really, really glad that you're still with us. And I will leave this one because I said it somewhere else. If Gracie Allen had lived several more decades like she should have, she and Betty White would have been tearing down houses left, right, and center if they had been on a sitcom together. And the Golden Girls would have been so much better than even what it was. And it was damn good. Seriously. You all take care of yourselves. We'll see you soon. Until the next time we get together, everyone, as always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. Be safe out there. And my Fujin, 13 plus years on, I am still in love with you. Matane Fujin, I love you and I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we get together, everyone. Thanks for being with us. And good night.